Good morning for all of those who are joining us here on the weather desk this morning. For those who are continuing to stay with us from the daybreak stream, or for those who are just now joining us, I'm meteorologist Taylor Stepenson here with 13 News Now for the weather desk, where we talk about the top weather headlines from our area, which is Hampton Roads, Virginia, the Tidewater, southeastern Virginia, and then northeastern North Carolina as well. But we take it well beyond the East Coast. We go all over the country for top weather headlines and all over the world as well. Let's get into the topics for today's weather desk. It is a packed show. There's a lot to show you for today. So for the weather desk for October the 15th, as we get into the middle of the month, we are talking severe and unusual weather across North America. That includes a storm in Arizona. It includes snow in parts of the Rockies, and it also includes an update from the devastating flooding in Mexico. We'll talk more about all of those things here at the top of the show. Plus, I'm tracking the tropics. We have a very weak tropical storm still just churning in the eastern Atlantic. We'll talk more about Lorenzo. Plus, one of my favorite things to talk about is climate change. So we're going to talk about the effects of climate change on coral reefs and how many reefs, or how big of the percentage of reefs, have been bleached by the unfortunate continuance of our global warming and rising global temperatures and sea temperatures as well. And then at the end of the show, we're going to get into the local forecast. We'll talk more about the sunshine that returns later on this afternoon. I know a lot of people are probably thinking, okay, it's been gloomy for the past few days. Where is the sunshine? Well, it will return by the afternoon, and then we're watching for a cooler late week, plus a really nice weekend on tap. This morning, people across the country are cleaning up after strong storms slammed several states. Arizona was one of the hardest hit areas. Michaela Marshall has a look at the aftermath in Tempe.
I've never seen anything like that before.
The aftermath of Monday's microburst is hard for homeowners like Matt Jensen to take in.
It came on suddenly, and almost as suddenly it stopped.
The fast-moving storm leaving a lasting impact that will take a long time to clean up. He's got two big trees down in the backyard.
It was very jarring.
Plus this massive one in the front yard slammed onto the roof.
A really loud thump. Luckily, it did miss where any people were, but it was definitely a very surreal experience.
How does this happen?
It's an act of God. And that's really the only way to explain this.
Even roofing professionals like Nate Manley are blown away by the amount of destruction.
In any other storm, this would be absolutely out of the ordinary, but we're seeing this on almost every other street.
He compares it to a war zone and says with so many people looking for help, his phone has been ringing nonstop.
We're going to have to basically rebuild her house, especially in this section. And once we have the tree off, who knows what we'll find.
The severe weather also affecting Manley's Tempe home.
I don't have time to take care of my own home. That's how much damage we've been experiencing in the neighborhood.
What did you think when you saw this? The end of the world is coming.
Jill Osborne's next door neighbor got the worst of it.
I did come outside, and my poor neighbor came outside at the same time, and she was crying. It was terrifying for her.
Although it might be more hidden, there's significant damage to her home, too.
I have a skylight now in my attic.
Thankfully, no one was hurt, and the community is pitching in to support one another.
All I really care about is that everybody was okay.
Now, the really wild thing about microbursts is that the rain is falling so hard towards the ground that once it hits the ground, it spreads out and it causes wind gusts that can be up to tornado strength when it comes to how fast those winds can be. Now let's take you from Arizona up and north and east to Colorado. The southern parts of the state near the New Mexico state line right about here have been dealing with flooding for days. As you see right now, ongoing rainfall there in northern New Mexico. New drone video shows the San Juan River and Pagosa Springs, which has been steadily rising since this weekend. Several buildings along the river have been overtaken by floodwaters, and at least 90 homes have been damaged. Mandatory evacuation orders have been issued curfew for Pagosa Springs and surrounding counties, which have gotten at least 6 inches of rain so far. And now we're going to take it to our neighbors down south in Mexico this morning. They're digging out after torrential rainfall triggered flooding and landslides in the eastern part of the country. Right now, more than 60 people are confirmed dead and dozens are still missing. 100,000 homes have also been damaged. CNN's Valeria Leon spoke with survivors in Hidalgo near Mexico City.
Scenes of destruction as torrential rain and heavy landslide devastate several Mexican states. For thousands, the losses are overwhelming, some impossible to repair. One of my friends died, Sarari recalls. There are others we haven't found. Rescue teams search for those still missing, even inside smashed cars where they hope to recover bodies. But amid the tragedy, solidarity rises. In Hidalgo, the state with the highest number of people missing, Oscar Vázquez delivers food to his neighbors. People are very isolated, food is running out, and getting it through these roads has been really difficult. Access has just been restored to the El Pantano community, situated between two hills, left unstable by the rains. Authorities have begun assessing the damage, having already inspected over 4,000 homes, one of them belonging to the Hernandez family.
This house was completely destroyed following the intense rains across central Mexico, killing a woman inside while the family was left with nothing. But members of this community located in the Mexican state of Hidalgo now fear that new landslides coming from that cliff could bury their homes.
With danger still looming, Leticia Hernandez, mother of a newborn, prepares to leave.
Tiene 3 meses de nacido.
He's only 3 months old. Of course I'm scared, she says. We can't handle it yourself, but when you have a baby, you think about them. In the middle of the emergency, it's mothers who carry the heaviest burden. Maria Angelina lives with her son Fidel, who has a disability. Honestly, it's scary, she says. It's never rained like this before. In their small house covered with cardboard, Fidel can barely move on his own. This house is fragile, and since I can't walk, they couldn't get me out of there. The rains have left him afraid, haunted by the thought of being caught again, but this time unable to escape. Valeria León, CNN, Hidalgo, Mexico.
Just very sad images coming there from parts of Mexico, again, near Mexico City in the city of Hidalgo. So we're thinking about our friends there in Mexico. As we go back to the U.S., it's only mid-October, but in the Sierra Nevada mountain range, it's already getting a lot of snow. You can see right here, there's snowfall just to the west of Reno coming through, kind of a mix as well, a little bit of some sleet or some ice coming down and some cold rain there in those mountain ranges, but continuing to see some of that snowfall through Nevada. Now, take a look. An early season snowstorm is hitting parts of California and Nevada. The chains are already required for driving for portions of Interstate 80, While the storm is slowing down drivers, this taste of early winter is exciting for skiers and snowboarders. Check this out. Mammoth Mountain, a popular ski resort about an hour away from Yosemite, has already gotten more than 10 inches of snow. 10 inches of snow. I just can't imagine that at this point. But it's going to be a little bit longer before anybody can hit the slopes there. The mountain doesn't officially open up until November 14th, which is less than 30 days away. We're going to take a quick break, and coming up in about 2 minutes, I'll have a look at Tropical Storm Lorenzo in the Atlantic, plus the sunshine that returns to Hampton Roads later on today. Welcome back, everyone. We have just over a month left in hurricane season, right about a month and a half. And here's what I'm tracking in the tropics right now. This is a loop of our infrared satellite. And I love using this kind of satellite because we have different types of satellite. We have infrared. We also have water vapor. We can use just regular satellite that just shows the cloud cover. But right now, I love infrared because it can really show where a lot of that moisture is and also where the most intense showers and thunderstorms are going on right now. The reds are going to be your highest cloud tops. The higher the cloud tops, the more mature that cloud is, and usually is going to produce the heaviest rainfall and produce the strongest storms. Right now, this comma shape is actually the remnants of our nor'easter, so just to the north of Bermuda, moving away. It is not a tropical system, and we can go over the reasons why that is in just a little bit. We're seeing some more extra moisture into places like Boston and New York today, some cloud cover going on there. For us, also seeing some cloud cover, but not really as much moisture being funneled into the mid-Atlantic at this point. None of this is tropical. Let's go over to where the tropics are right now. Can you even identify which one is a tropical storm? Probably not, because it is very weak at this moment. This is Tropical Storm Lorenzo. It looks a mess. It is a mess. It's a very, very weak tropical storm at the moment. So here's a look at Tropical Storm Lorenzo. Right now, 40-mile-per-hour winds sustained, gusts up to 50. We'll get our next update at 11 a.m., but right now its movement is north at 13 miles per hour as it continues to churn into parts of the eastern Atlantic over the course of the next 24 hours. We may be saying our last goodbyes to Lorenzo. I could even see maybe even later on today it basically falling apart and becoming either a remnant low or a remnant trough as it moves back into the eastern Atlantic. Overall, very grateful that Lorenzo didn't cause any havoc in any parts of the Atlantic, anywhere from Africa to Europe, all the way back here to the U.S., the Caribbean, and down into South America. But Lorenzo does mark our 12th named storm of the season, after going through Andrea, down through Gabrielle, and then Umberto and Imelda that were just offshore of our coast, and then down through Lorenzo. Now, usually on a given hurricane season, we do average about 14 named storms a season, so we are still running below normal. There have been outlooks, though, that do show that there could be some potential for some tropical development in the Caribbean Sea over the coming weeks, but even now, over the next 7 days, I'm not expecting any tropical activity at this point per the National Hurricane Center. But usually, again, we should be somewhere around that 14 named storms mark as we round out hurricane season. So we'll see if we add Melissa or Nestor as named storms this season. Over the past 75 years, this is the hurricane climatology. Usually, we start to see activity really ramping up in August, even though hurricane season does start on June 1st. It ramps up during the middle of September and through late September. And then by the time we get to about here, where we are here at October the 15th, activity starts to take a downhill slide. So by the time we get into the end of the month and early November, tropical activity becomes really less likely. And that's because we typically have cooler ocean temperatures. To get tropical systems to form, you need to have ocean temperatures of around 80 degrees or higher. Once we start to get into the very late summer very late fall into early winter, that's when we start to see the ocean temperatures going down. During the late summer is when the ocean temperatures are the warmest, and that's why you usually see a spike of tropical activity there in the middle of September. Here, our ocean temperatures have now fallen to the upper 60s, so it would not support tropical activity at all. Now, let's talk more about the aftermath left in hurricane season. And for the latest on the tropics, you can head to Hurricane Hub Live. That's every night at 8 p.m. You can watch it here on 13 News Now Plus. That's Monday through Sunday. Our team of meteorologists, including myself, if I do work the night shift, will take an even closer look at what's happening in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. Now, speaking of the oceans, there is an alarming new report that shows the Earth has reached its first so-called climate tipping point, which is the widespread death of coral reefs. According to the report, 80% of the world's coral reefs have been affected by the worst mass bleaching event on record, which began in 2023. That bleaching is caused in part by record high ocean temperatures, as I just mentioned just a moment ago. Places around the Florida Keys just last year reached 100 degrees. The report says the death of coral reefs is just the first of several potentially irreversible climate tipping points. The report was put together by 160 scientists worldwide. Its release comes just a month before the annual United Nations Climate Conference. This year, countries are supposed to set out their goals for bringing down climate emissions over the next decade. Unfortunately, climate change is something we're going to be talking about even as we look at reports. It looks like we're starting to see the irreversible effects of climate change. Now, for today's forecast for your Wednesday, after a very rainy, gloomy stretch of weather, the sunshine finally returns today. We will see cloudy conditions and cool temperatures this morning, but the sunshine comes this afternoon. That helps to warm us up just slightly. So we're going to have a really nice second half of the day. Also, we get a taste of fall on Thursday and Friday as a cold front pushes through today and ushers in cooler air for tomorrow and the end of the week. Also, by this weekend, for those who may want to be heading out to Wine Fest here in Norfolk, warmer this weekend with temperatures in the 60s and 70s. Let's take this sky view full right here. This is a look at the cloud cover overlooking parts of Norfolk, and you can see how gloomy it is at the moment. Right now, temperatures in the area in the lower 60s, and you can see that it is just not a pretty scene out there at the moment. We're seeing wind gusts at this point up to about 30 miles per hour. As we progress through the rest of the time here in the day, we'll start to see those temperatures warming up because, again, that sunshine does come through. Now, while the humidity is at around 83%, I always like to use a dew point temperature in this case because the dew point temperature is actually going to give you a pretty accurate look at what's actually going on here in Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina when it comes to how it actually feels outside. We are seeing dew point temperatures in those mid-50s, and the mid-50s means that we are seeing mainly pleasant or comfortable humidity levels. So even though humidity is at 83%, remember that is in relation to the actual air temperature, which is only at 61%. So of course, humidity is going to be high when the dew point temperatures are already in the mid-50s and the temperatures are low. So something to keep in mind. So let's talk about what's going on here. Finally, now that the sun has risen, we can kind of see a better view of what's going on cloud-wise. I'll show you a look at our nor'easter that has now just fallen apart just north of Bermuda. Bermuda's right about here. And here was that center of low pressure, now just creating some rough waves and some stormy conditions over the open Atlantic. This cold front is going to be the front that drops through our area today, bringing us some cooler weather for Thursday and Friday. Right now, I'm seeing cloud cover really kind of in a diagonal direction from the eastern shore down through the south side and cutting through eastern North Carolina. So that's why temperatures closer to the coast have been a little bit warmer today, because we have seen the cloud cover kind of trapping a little bit more of that heat in. Now, I did want to talk a little bit more about our nor'easter and why it was not considered a tropical cyclone, and yet it was considered an extra tropical cyclone. It's in the way it forms and the way it looks. So, extra tropical cyclone has fronts. It's also very elongated. Usually you have that kind of signature comma shape. The fronts, that's the reason why it actually forms. So it has fronts. A tropical cyclone, if you ever think of like a picturesque hurricane that's like over the sea, you can kind of see how it just spins in that really nice circle. It's symmetrical. Also, it's fueled by temperature differences. That goes back to the fronts thing. So this is fueled by the temperature differences between the air masses. The tropical cyclone is fueled by heat from the open ocean waters. And so that's why I said earlier during our tropics outlook that the waters have to be in the 80s for the energy to be enough for tropical systems to form. And lastly, the strongest winds are away from the center in an extratropical cyclone like we saw earlier this week on Sunday with wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. During a hurricane or tropical storm, the strongest winds are near the center, and that's usually near that eye wall. So those are the three differences between an extratropical cyclone and a tropical cyclone, and why our nor'easter did not get a name, because it didn't have those tropical characteristics. So let's talk about the finally moving out nor'easter and the entering cold front. Throughout the day today, temperatures will rise to the middle 60s and upper 60s by noon. We're going to see temperatures in the upper 60s and lower 70s during the afternoon, warmest as you head inland. The cold front drops throughout the day, and then we feel the cool effects starting tomorrow. Wind gusts today could be up to about 30 miles per hour. Tomorrow, same deal. But then you add on the fact that we have cool air in place, and that is going to make it feel very chilly tomorrow. Temperatures tomorrow morning in the upper 40s and to the lower to middle 50s. I can't remember when the last time we had 40s was in the forecast. So definitely grab a jacket if you live in Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina early tomorrow morning, because it is going to be a cool one. The north winds continuing to pull in that cool air, and because they will be gusting up to 60 miles an hour, up to 30 miles per hour with temperatures in the 60s, it's going to feel cool. We're going to see highs tomorrow in the lower to middle 60s. Good news is, though, that cold front just kind of reinforces the very pleasant humidity levels that we'll see for the end of the week, staying in the pleasant to comfortable range through the next 7 days. This bump in the humidity levels, that's a part of our next cold front. This is going to bump up some humidity levels ahead of that front on Sunday and possibly into Monday before dropping down midweek. We also will see a rise in temperatures ahead of that front as well. Tomorrow, because of the cool air and the wind, that's how you get wind chill. Wind chill temperatures, or real feel, or feels like, whatever word you want to use, temperatures are going to feel more like the lower 50s in the morning at best. I think some places inland and around the peninsulas will probably feel more like the mid 40s. By the afternoon, at best, feeling more like the middle to upper 50s. So it's going to be one of those days where you definitely need the jacket. But here's a look at the weekend preview, and you can see that temperatures are going to be super comfortable on Saturday after a start in the upper 40s around the coast and lower 40s around parts of I-95 and inland. We're going to make it to the upper 60s and lower 70s on Saturday as high pressure takes over right behind that front. So mostly sunny and comfortable on Saturday, just in time for the wine festival here in Norfolk. So perfect conditions. On Sunday, it does get slightly dicey. Nothing too out of the normal. Not expecting severe weather at the moment with this cold front coming on Sunday, but we could have some late day showers. Temperatures in the morning starting off warmer, middle 50s, upper 40s inland, and then by the afternoon, we're making it to the middle 70s area wide. Warmer, but again, those showers come in late. We'll get a little bit better timing of the system as it approaches our area. As we get closer to the weekend. So stay tuned for that forecast, and we'll nail down the timing of the showers on Sunday. Overall, though, pretty nice weekend after what was, again, doom and gloom from the nor'easter we had this past weekend, almost a 180 of what we did just about 4 or 5 days ago. So today, breezy, windy, and we will have the decreasing cloud cover throughout the day. Sunshine for the Virginia side of the area really starts to settle in around 1 to 2 p.m. For the northeastern North Carolina side of the area, right around 3 to 4 p.m. Highs today in the upper 60s and lower 70s. The earlier those clouds clear, the more we'll be able to warm up. So these temperatures may be pushed up just slightly if we can get that cloud cover out of the way. Once that cold front comes through, though, you can kind of see that drop in temperatures. Temperatures on Thursday starting off in the mid 50s around and low 50s around the water, with upper 40s and mid 40s inland. Temperatures tomorrow afternoon, though, struggling back into the middle 60s with breezy conditions, wind gusts back up to about 25 to 30 miles per hour. On Friday, we finally, after about 4 or 5 days of windy conditions, can say goodbye to the winds. We're going to be in the lower 50s during the morning on Friday, with highs, though, slightly cooler than Thursday in the lower 60s. Some places inland making it to the middle 60s, but we'll have a lot of sunshine from Wednesday through Saturday. Climbing back to the upper 60s on Saturday after a cooler morning in the upper 40s and lower 40s, and then isolated showers return on Sunday. Highs on Sunday back into those middle 70s. That actually puts us maybe a degree or two right around or above normal after we spend a few days below normal. Even as we stretch back into the weekend, we were below normal. So after a long stretch of cool temperatures, we're finally back near normal on Sunday. Again, watching for those late day showers. If you want to know more about the timing of that rain over the coming days, you need to go to 13newsnow.com. We have a full forecast discussion. And as we get into tomorrow and Friday, we can really nail down this forecast for the timing of the showers, especially for those who want to be out and about on Sunday, and for the wine festival that 13 News Now is sponsoring at Town Point Park. We'll get you that forecast as soon as we can. On Monday, we'll have a few morning showers just lingering around the area. Once that cold front pushes through, that rain will shut down. Temperatures will be in the upper 60s on Monday after a start in the upper 50s, so really not climbing much as that cooler air settles in. Then Tuesday looks beautiful, 50s for the morning and lower 70s for the afternoon. Remember, you can always get the latest news, traffic, and weather on the go with the 13 News Now app. You can scan the QR code on your screen to download the app now. It's free on the Apple Store and on Google Play. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Weather Desk, talking about the top weather headlines here in the U.S. and around the world, and even locally here in Hampton Roads and northeastern North Carolina. Thank you so much for joining me, and meteorologist Hunter Forst will be here with your latest top headlines tomorrow morning on the Weather Desk at 9 a.m. See you then.